Okay, welcome to Friday Coffee. Glad that you're here today. We're gonna.
There you go.
Okay, just a few things to know, because we do have a hybrid meeting. We ask that you would remain muted if you're joining us on Zoom. That just helps prevent any background noise. And put your questions in the chat. We'll try and respond to those, and we'll also hopefully give you an opportunity at the end to ask those questions. And we do ask that you don't record any part of this presentation for another use without permission. So let's go around and we'll do introductions, and we'll start by introducing the folks in the room, and then we'll try and get the folks that are joining us on Zoom. So I'm Susan from the Chamber. Natalie?
Hi, I'm Natalie with the library. I'm Claudia with the library.
I'm Yuri with the Chamber.
It's like
I'm
I'm
Amy with Project Homeless Connect.
I'm Nick Shears with Missouri Coastal.
I'm at Dow Real Estate Company, Carroll Dow.
Roger Grizzly, Veterans Rep at Capital City, Johnson.
Brian Burns, get our Shears Associates.
George Hartsfield.
Carol Rodell, First Choice Employment Agency. Tina Jeffries, First Choice Employment Agency.
Dan Basil, Home Helpers.
Frank Reising, Evening Rotary and Capillary Interfaith Alliance.
Okay, we'll go on the outside of the room.
Hey, my name is Aaron Shea, and I'm with Kinesiology Coaches.
Anna Trammell with Amherst, Missouri.
Jay Morrow, Chamber Staff.
Mary Holloway, Council.
Benjamin Reese, Shadow Jones.
Carrie Turgeon, Mayor of Jefferson City and Carrie's Hallmark.
Eric Barron with the Planning and Zoning Division of the City of Jefferson.
Okay, we'll take just a few minutes. If anybody joining us on Zoom wants to unmute and introduce themselves.
Hi, Stu Murphy.
Heather McGee, JCMG.
Janet Ware,
FSM Health.
Hi, Susan Brandt with Working Spaces.
Good morning, Jamie Meyer with RMI.
Darcy Crane, American Cancer Society.
Paula Benny, CNS Business Services.
Anyone else? I know we have quite a few joining us on Zoom, but you care to introduce yourself, company name?
I'm Adam Viley with Communicate.
We've got Rich with Three Rivers Electric on.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead. And I would like to introduce Rochelle Weaver. All right. Okay, with that, I want to introduce and appreciate our sponsors for today. The Friday Coffee sponsor is First Choice Employment Agency. So I'm going to ask Carol and Tanita to come on up, and they're going to tell us a little bit more about First Choice, and they have some door prizes to give away. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity.
Good morning.
We have a couple of prizes we want to give away, but first I want to tell you a little bit about First Choice Employment Agency. We are a nonprofit organization. We only work with people with disabilities. So we work through the state agency, vocational rehabilitation, and they send us referrals. We help them find jobs in the community instead of working like in a sheltered workshop or anything like that. We've been in business for 7.5 years. We've got some brochures that we can pass around. The first one is the one that we hand out to individuals that are in services. And the second one is how if you are looking for an employee, we can help you find somebody. So a couple of things that are good about hiring somebody with a disability that from my standpoint, that I see, if somebody hasn't worked for a long time and they really want to work, they're going to stay in that job. A lot of people that we work with do entry-level positions, and that's what we look for, like stocking, janitorial, entry-level clerical, something like that. But they're going to stay in that job. It's going to alleviate some of that retraining problems that you all may have. So that's a real good reason. You're not going to have to worry about doing all that again real soon. But they're just so happy to have the job and so loyal. We work with all kinds of clients. Some of them are very low functioning, but others are very, very intelligent, very high functioning. We've had people, I've worked with attorneys, with state CEOs, with just a lot of different levels of people, high-end clerical. So we've got everybody. So if there's somebody that you're looking for and you're having a hard time filling a position, let us know. We can possibly help you with that. What we tried to do is to get in, and we could even work with you to create a job. So if you know, what I say a lot of times is, if you've got somebody that you're paying $20 an hour to do a job, and they spend about a third of their job filing or doing something like that, let us know. We can work and create a job for somebody, maybe working 20 hours a week, and they can come in and do some of those more mundane tasks for you. And then you're not paying $20 an hour to somebody to do filing. So, yeah, there are a lot of things. If you have anything.
So another benefit about hiring our clients is most employers qualify for the work opportunity tax credit, which is always good. And then some of the things that I look for with the employers out in the area is I like to do assessments or working interviews. That way you kind of try before you buy. And so that's always nice. And if you're interested in being on an assessment site, just let me know. I'd be happy to set you up with someone.
And what that means is we're going to come in there and try out a job. So when somebody doesn't know what kind of job they want to do, we try out 4 or 5 different things first. And it's just an opportunity for them to try something out. And we're there with them. So if they are in your filing system and they're in there doing some filing, you don't have to worry that things are going to be all over the place when you get done and you're going to search forever for the piece of paper. We have a qualified staff member with them the whole time that they are there doing that job. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, our phone numbers are on the back of those brochures. Just give either one of us a call. And yeah, we'll be happy to chat with you, come meet with you, whatever. But yeah, we'd really like to work with you. As far as door prices are,
You have an event?
We do have an event.
Yes, we do.
We are having a cornhole tournament with JC Parks on November 6th. It's going to be at the link. And it's on our website, and our website is on those brochures as well. www.firstchoiceemployment.org. But these are some shirts that we had made up, and we have 3 door prizes, and each prize consists of a shirt, a cup, a can koozie, and a bottle koozie. And the shirts, we just brought one medium, 1 large, and 1 extra large. So depending on who wins the prize, maybe you can switch out the shirts for whatever sizes you think will get you better.
Okay, if you want to draw a name, you'll-
I didn't worry about reading first.
Andrea Holloway.
Come on up and I'll take your picture if that's okay. With both of you guys.
We'll make the sandwich.
There you go. Gotta hold your prize.
You're the winner.
I say, hold your shirt up.
You gotta hold your prize. There, okay. Good, got it. You can draw again.
And the next one is Benjamin.
Benjamin, are you gonna help?
Schneider.
Okay, very good. Okay. Got it. All right, okay.
Thank you.
One more.
Aaron. I
There we
can't
go.
read the rest. Okay.
There you go. Got it. Good, good. Well, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank
for
If you
being
have
our
any
Friday
questions, let us
coffee
know.
sponsor. Good to know more about it. And I do want to add that you can be a Friday coffee also. We do have opportunities for you. I think Rochelle's online. I don't know, Rochelle, do you want to speak about that sponsorship that you do with the chamber?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. So if you're a Friday sponsor, you can do just exactly what these two lovely ladies did. You get up and you present, you talk about your business, and then you'll also meet with me with Cumulus Media. We have 7 radio stations and digital products in our community where we promote your business to our listeners. So we would sit down and personally craft up a 25 30-second ad that we will air on our radio stations, and this will be heard by all of our listeners.
Okay. And that sponsorship, we do still have, I think, 1 in this calendar year, but we're accepting sponsorships for 2022 also, so sponsorship. I'm gonna go and start with announcements. Natalie, do you want to speak to social media forum since that's your?
Yeah, sure. So social media forum is next week. It is always the third Thursday of the month at 8 a.m. We are talking about using Facebook events and other tools to help with your holiday marketing. I know it sounds really early to be talking about that, but it is not. So please join us. It should be a good time.
Thanks, Natalie. Another opportunity for you to network and meet other chamber members is Chamber Connections. It's on the 3rd Thursday from 4 to 5:30. This month it is at Last Flight Brewing Company. And our co-sponsor is the Jefferson City Park. So that's Thursday the 16th from 4 to 5:30. So I encourage you to attend Chamber Connections. Another event that I encourage you to attend, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's actually today, the Havana Nights Gala. This gala is different than any gala we've ever had before. Traditionally, our gala is in the Capitol Plaza Hotel ballroom, and we have 700 people seated in a room. And this year we couldn't do that. We did part of our program, our meeting part virtually in January, and now we're having our social. We are going to be presenting 3 very important community awards. The Fast Forward Award, the Meritorious Civic Service Award, and the William W. Quigg Award. So we appreciate all of our sponsors and our participants. Our goal was to have 400, and we did sell out 400 at Canterbury Hill Winery. So we are going to have lovely weather today, and it's a great opportunity for us to celebrate our community and give some award presentations. You can see those photos there. Some of our key sponsors. It is themed attire, so we're all having a lot of fun with that. So if you have your ticket to the Havana Nights Gala, we'll see you there tonight. And if not, I might be able to make arrangements for a few people if they want to go. We always try, we're the chamber, we always try and make room, but we have to be mindful. We are at the winery, not at the Capitol Plaza. So Havana Nights Gala. Another event, I'm trying to see if I've got anybody in the room that's some young professionals that worked on this. Oh, yeah, Gary, yeah. I don't want to take credit for any of the planning of this event. The young professionals, they do these summits start to finish, and they have lined up some great speakers there. You have a flyer in front of you, and also it's listed there online, but they have got some great speakers. We can still take reservations today. It's next Tuesday, the 14th. It's a full day of professional development and networking for young professional members or anyone in that age category or anyone that honestly just feel like they would benefit from participating with Huber, communicating proficiently, Jason Whittle, overcoming adversity, Julie Neal, building awareness, Matt Green is going to speak on home entertainment, and this is Creed McFerrin, using technology to your advantage. So it's a full day. It's a wonderful setting. The Missouri Soybean Center for Innovation is hosting us at their location, and it's really going to be an opportunity. So you would like to register someone for that, let me know. Michael Huber, his professional development committee from the young professionals have put together a great day. Opportunity for you to nominate a small business or an exceptional employee. We will be presenting those awards November 10th at the Capitol Plaza Hotel at what we're calling the Business Leadership Summit. It's kind of a new format for the expo, but a very important part of that day for the events is the Small Business and Exceptional Employee Award Luncheon. So we will be presenting those awards there, and you can nominate until the 22nd of September. Then we ask those folks to fill out a profile to be considered for the judging. So we encourage you, if you know a business or an employee that is deserving of that award. Last year, the employee was from the library, Noel, and the business was River City Forest. So they join a long list of other accomplished businesses and employees that help make Jefferson City a great place. So encourage you, help us recognize somebody, nominate. Sean.
Good morning again, everyone. I'd like to just draw your attention to our next leadership lessons session, which is next Tuesday at noon. This will be it's a free session. It's a Zoom session. And Aaron Deshay with Potential Coaching is here with us today. So that I just real quick, would you like to say a few words about the session?
Sure. So this presentation will be for business owners, for HR staff, anyone who's involved with maintaining their workforce and trying to create a healthy culture. So I'll be speaking a little bit about, obviously, why people are leaving, but the main focus will be what you can actually do about it, how you can take proactive measures using people analytics and scientific data in order to maintain the workforce and have a healthy workforce.
Thank you for presenting next week on Tuesday. So we'll
do it. Yeah. I think I will. There we go.
The Pitch It and Win It. Hopefully everyone's heard about this. This is our 10th annual Pitch It and Win It contest. Just think of Shark Tank. And cash prize sponsored by RMI, Missouri Inc. So first staff is a $5,000 winner take all prize. So if you know anyone that is in business and under $150,000 of revenue, maybe a year or two, or pretty flexible as a committee, please let them know. You can go online here and register. Go to the chamber website. Give me a call, contact me, or anyone here at the chamber. And I real quickly would like to thank our sponsors again, RMI, Missouri Women's Business Center, located in Columbia, Lincoln University Small Business Development Center, and the startup is our startup logo. So if you know anyone, send them on.
Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Carrie. Talk about Missouri Patriot.
All right, thank you. So as we know, this is the 20th anniversary of September 11, and we have a lot going on here in the capital city, so we hope that you can join us for some of the commemorations. Tonight, there is a ceremony at 7 p.m. at the Capitol, and we do have the trailer that will be there that has a large piece of the World Trade Center, a piece of steel, and a lot of other memorabilia there. So it would be definitely worth coming to see that. But tonight at 7 at the Capitol, they will have a ceremony, and then they will also have the reading of the names of everyone who died that day. So it will be a very solemn service, ceremony, but also something that will be very worthwhile if you can come. And then we also have Joe, that was one of the survivors, a firefighter that survived the collapse of both towers. He's in town, came in with the trailer, and he will be the keynote speaker. So hearing his message, I know he's been going around to local schools, and he's quite an inspiration. So he will be speaking tonight. So that's tonight, and then Saturday on the actual September 11th, there are several events, including 8:30, I believe, is the 5K. That will be on the south steps of the Capitol. And then at 10:30 a.m., the Jefferson City Veterans Council is having a Veterans Plaza rededication at the police department. If you've noticed the flags out there, they just redid that. So we invite you that's 10:30 on Saturday. And then there's a parade, the Patriot Day Parade on Saturday is at noon through the downtown. I believe it starts at the corner of Broadway and High and will come through the downtown area. And then at 1 o'clock is the memorial stair climb that they do every year to commemorate the steps, the number of steps it took to get to the top of the World Trade Center. So there's a lot of activities going on. Missouri Patriot Day has a Facebook page, or it's under Missouri's Patriot Day. So please find out and like it on Facebook. All these events are on there. They are selling t-shirts. That is the design of the winning t-shirt. They had students that did a poster contest and they put the winning design on the back of the shirt. The shirts are $20. We have them at Curie's Hallmark. There's also ball caps that have Missouri Patriot Day that are like a tan ball cap with a flag in the front, tan flag. Those are $20 at Curie's Hallmark. I would be wearing mine today, but I literally sold it off of my head when I was wearing it because somebody wanted it. So please consider buying one because they've had to raise a lot of money to bring this trailer here, which is a really big deal. They worked on it a couple of years just to get it here in Jefferson City. So if you could support that cause, they would appreciate it. So a lot going on in Jefferson City for that commemoration. But with that, I'd like to shift now to our program for today. As the mayor, it's an honor and I'm excited that I get to introduce our guest speaker, Eric Barron, and we're going to talk about Activate Jefferson City 2040. And what an exciting presentation and title. When you think about planning and you think about what we need to do is have a plan. You can't do anything without a plan. What's certain about the plan is it will evolve and grow and change with your input. We can't do a plan ourselves. We need to involve each of you and you need to know about it. So we do encourage you to share this information, take notes, keep it, screenshot it. It's on the website. Eric will tell you how to find it. So we want to get that out to you as much as we can. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric Barron.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, my name is Eric Barron. I'm the planning manager for the city of Jefferson, overseeing the planning and zoning division within the city. I'm here to speak about the comprehensive plan this morning. Okay. What is a comprehensive plan? Well, there is a legal requirement for communities to have a comprehensive plan. It's closely linked with zoning. And so a major component within a city's comprehensive plan is a land use plan, with the zoning code of the city then being the implementing tool of that land use plan. But a comprehensive plan is more than just zoning and how to make zoning happen. It contains a wide variety of recommendations on a number of different topics, dealing with social, economic, transportation, and land use across the community. One of the major components of the comprehensive plan is a very strong public involvement program. And so the city started a public involvement program about 2 years ago and started with some public sessions within the community and listening to people to hear what it is that they have, what's important for them within the community. And then city staff basically took that information back, drafted a plan, and then went back out to the public to present the various components of the plan and see what the people thought. And the process took about 2 years. It was interrupted twice, first by the tornado, which is very unfortunate, but it is something that is heavily represented within the plan. It was on people's minds as we went through the public involvement sessions. And then the second interruption toward the end of the plan was COVID. And that was unfortunate because it interrupted a lot of the public involvement on the tail end. And so we shifted over to a lot of social media, a lot of virtual sessions, and things that many of us have become aware, kind of in tune with these days. And with that, the Planning and Zoning Commission adopted the comprehensive plan in June. And so an overview of it. So up on the screen is basically 6 chapters within the plan. As I mentioned, it deals with a wide variety of different topics. So housing and neighborhoods, economic development, transportation, environmental resiliency, land use, in culture, and healthy living. And I'll touch on each of these. The normal presentation that I give is about an hour long. And so I'll give a broad overview of a lot of these topics. But as the mayor said, I'm certainly available. If anyone has any questions on anything after the session, my contact information, I'm available there at the city. And I'm happy to talk with anyone about any subject. So first on the housing front, again, the comprehensive plan contains a wide variety of recommendations. These are things that are not adopted as law or anything like that with the adoption of the plan. They're things for the community and the city to work toward. And it's not just the planning and zoning section within the community. But it's really a wide variety of city agencies and other agencies within Jefferson City. So a couple of the things include promoting more styles of residential development, not just a standard single family home or apartment building, but making a wider variety of things available. Expanding the rental inspection program. A lot of the community's housing is very aged, and much of it doesn't meet modern codes. Using tools to promote low and income housing, and trying to encourage more neighborhood associations. A lot of the best ways to improve neighborhoods are at the local, very local level within the neighborhood. Within the plan, there are a number of maps, and I'll try to touch on these. This map shows some of the what we've termed strategically monitored neighborhoods. These are neighborhoods that are probably in the most need of being looked at and having community resources targeted for them. And so of the three different colors shown on the screen, the red color, the tier 3, is the one that basically qualifies as needing the most attention in terms of making sure that the neighborhoods have the resources to be improved. The next topic I'll touch on is economic development. There's a wide variety of different recommendations, from very small to very large, economic development topics. For example, on the small side, encouraging live-work structures. Live-work structures are basically single-family homes that also operate as a small local business. The best example is someone operating a small store out of the living room, converted to a small store within the historic neighborhood. Other things include using the economic development tools that are available, SIDS and MIDS. And then on the very large side, supporting growth in some of the key economic areas that help support Jefferson City, especially state government, big box retail, which draws in a lot of consumer traffic from the surrounding areas, and medical care. Again, Jefferson City serves as a regional medical provider for the surrounding area. We think that should be supported and grown. The next topic is transportation. A few of the examples in the plan include promoting truck management and freight activity. It's not lost on us that there is no truck stop within Jefferson City. Capitalizing on rail service. We have a railroad going through the community, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for businesses when it comes to transportation and lower cost options from trucking. Right? Trying to encourage and identify areas for more complete or livable streets. A good example of a complete street is Capitol Avenue, where all modes of transportation are represented within a single street, along with some aesthetic considerations where bike lanes, walking, pedestrian sidewalks, as well as vehicle traffic and street trees and bike racks, et cetera. Encouraging all modes of transportation and beautifying the community. There is a map within the comprehensive plan. It's besides land use, there is one other key component, a legal requirement within the comp plan. It's a future roads plan. And so this is our thoroughfare plan. It shows a variety of roads across the community. There's basically two different colors up there. The blue roads are roads that are planned, so they don't exist, but the plan is for them to be constructed at some future date. And then the orange roads are roads that do exist, and the plan there is basically to expand, usually white. A lot of this transportation planning was done in conjunction with CAMPO, if you're familiar with the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is a transportation planning organization housed within City Hall. And they look at a wider urban area around Jefferson City. So that's why some of these roads go out into the county. And not only that, over into Cowley County. And some of the roads include, and I'll touch on each of them very briefly. Starting on the far left-hand side of the screen, number 7 is an extension of Militia Drive down to Liberty Road. Number 2 is an extension of Shadow Woods Road, going past Gertz and continuing on through that undeveloped area. basically to provide a connection to the Walmart Supercenter, kind of as an outer road. Third one, number one, is a small connection of Miller Street to bring it down to the Eastland Drive interchange. Number three is a road extension into the MSP site associated with that economic development project. Number four is a short extension of road adjacent to Capital City High School to connect to another road that's planned in that area. Number five is an extension of Stone Ridge Parkway, basically from the roundabout in front of Sam's south to Edgewood Drive. Number 10 is an extension of Mission Drive from the interchange at Highway 179 west to Rock Ridge Road. And then numbers 8 and 9, broken into two parts, is an extension of Wildwood, first down to Rock Ridge Road and then on to Route C. And so those, the plan is really focused on major corridors. And so those are some of the major corridors that, that we have on the books, so to speak, in terms of being planned out into the future. The next thing I'll touch on is environmental resiliency. You know, that topic in itself has a wide variety of different topics within it. Everything from encouraging rain gardens and environmental stewardship, being mindful of development within floodplains, encouraging green buildings. And, you know, green buildings, I think, are starting, you know, a lot of people are starting to realize the economic benefits of energy conservation within, you know, some of the green building concepts. The next topic I'll touch on is land use. So there's, you know, there's a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities in Jefferson City when it comes to land use. Some of the challenges include some of the vacant property. Again, we have a lot of older neighborhoods, older housing stock. And, you know, we basically think that the city would benefit from doing a little bit more study on blight and vacant properties and what can be done to help improve the older housing stock and bring it up to modern standards. The next thing is the downtown design guidelines. This is something that's been talked about for some time. City staff have even stated an intent to pursue a draft version of that for consideration by the community. It is largely put on hold with COVID, interrupting a lot of the public participation opportunities for city staff to pursue that. Still certainly curious at the staff level if this is something that's supported by the community, but downtown is our most historic area, and design guidelines would help preserve that in terms of making sure that any new construction within the area would adhere to the existing designs in the area. You know, a lot of the brick storefronts and historic kind of architecture. And then also some of the more suburban type recommendations, encouraging expansion and strengthening of existing commercial nodes within the community, and also expanding some of the mixed use opportunities. And I think a lot of the land use planning from the previous comprehensive plan, which was completed in the 90s, really focused on division of land uses into different zoning districts and such. And so I think a lot of the modern transit planning is trying to combine that with those mixed uses. There are a series of maps within the plan. We tried to map out development across the community to get a good handle on what the development trends have been in the past and help us look toward the future a little bit easier. And so I won't describe each of these, but within each of these slides is a dark purple area. That's the existing development, basically at the start of the decade for that slide. And then the orange areas are the areas that developed during that decade. And so you can kind of see the expansion of Jefferson City, largely out from downtown, but certainly more targeted toward the western edge of the city, which most people are familiar with. And with that, then we took that and tried to predict, so to speak, the future land use trends. We were helped to some extent by a study, a transportation-oriented study undertaken by CAMPO, the Transportation Planning planning organization that I mentioned earlier. And that study basically puts a lot of information into a computer model to try to target where future residential growth is most likely to occur. And so up on the screen is basically the last slide from the previous decades, showing the dark purple area. So that's the areas that's developed already out today. And then the orange areas shown up on the screen are anticipated areas of residential development. So basically areas that the computer model identified as being the most likely areas for residential development. There's a few areas that we targeted, certainly the downtown environment, wanting to make sure that it's shown appropriately in terms of potential there. But as you can see, most of the orange is showing up on the outskirts of the city, basically where flat land and sewer service exists. The model was very heavy in those two areas, making sure, which makes sense because that is some of the most relevant stuff when it comes to development of residential subdivisions. The circles that are shown on the screen are areas where we anticipate future commercial development. And so I'll touch on a few of these. Starting at the far left side of the screen, around the Walmart Supercenter on Eastland Drive. East McCarty Street. And you would expect there to be more commercial development around a Walmart Supercenter. The terrain in that area is kind of rough. But then also along Shawhill Woods Road, as I mentioned, there's a road extension within the transportation plan. We expect more commercial development there. At the MSP site, there is a circle shown on top of the St. Mary's redevelopment area. Also, the circle shown on top of the existing quarry area, basically to the south of Menards and Sam's Club, where we expect more commercial development to occur in the future. Also, the Mission Drive interchange by St. Mary's Hospital and Capital City High School. A couple circles along West Edgewood Drive, where there's still vacant property available for commercial development. And then also a quarry site where the Special Olympics is off of Christie Drive on the southern side of the city. So as I mentioned at the beginning, one of the key requirements of a comprehensive plan is the land use planning requirement associated with zoning. And so this is the future land use map that's contained within the plan. It's at a pretty small scale there. I could talk for literally hours about future land use. We paid a lot of attention to this future land use map, literally down to the parcel level. If you want to hear me talk about future land use for an hour, our videos are saved up on the Jefferson City YouTube site. And so you can search for July P&Z Commission work session and see, we had to break it up into 8 parts. But it's a widespread of land use discussion undertaken largely by me as I go through the various slides through the community at the planning and zoning work session on that topic. And so there's a few areas I'll touch on, hopefully very briefly, and to give you some flavor as to what a future land use map is and what we're trying to accomplish within it. One key thing within the future land use map is we wanted to identify more areas for apartments, for residential high density type development. And so we looked across the community and identified several areas that are really targeted for office parks right now. But recognize that apartments and offices are two land uses that could very easily mix together. And so targeted at the bottom of the screen, you'll see one category that's called suburban mixed use. And so we identified 6 different areas across the community to designate as the suburban mixed use. Some of these areas already have a mix of offices and apartments, and others have a good number of vacant commercial lots that could very easily be used for apartments. So up on the screen at the very top is a circle on a section of West Truman Boulevard. If you're familiar with that corridor, there's vacant property, and so that's one of the areas we targeted. A couple other things that I'll point out here. There's a large circle on top of the Stone Ridge Village development, identifying that as a very strong commercial, probably big box retail future for that area. And then also the Mission Drive area, identifying that as being commercial for the future. Switching more to the east side, 4 different circles. The 2 on the left side of the screen, one is off of Lorenzo Green Drive, the other is off of Flora Drive, where, Flora Drive is the area where the tornado hit very heavily. The Missouri Career Center was formerly located there. It's currently still a wreck of a building. But those two areas are areas that we identified for that suburban mixed use. And then over on the Eastland Drive interchange area, again, an extension of Shotgun Woods Road, showing that as future commercial, but also recognizing that the interchange of Eastland Drive, that there is some property on the northern side of that interchange that would likely be ideal for commercial development, vacant land there that could be used in that manner. And then switching to the center city area, I'll point out one component of the plan that we inserted was identifying redevelopment areas. So areas that are currently developed with something other than what their future land use would likely be, are basically just need to be redeveloped, drawn out in some way. One area is the interchange of Stadium Boulevard and Highway 54. That was actually a component of a Southside neighborhood plan that took place just a couple of years prior to our comprehensive planning process. So we carried that over into this. Just to the right of that is an area that's striped out and circled, and that is the Case and Union Avenue areas. Again, areas heavily impacted by the tornado. The school district underwent a property acquisition process for that area and currently grading for construction of athletic fields. And that is an area that we've identified within the Southside plan and also carried it over to the comprehensive plan as being intended for redevelopment. It includes not only that area acquired by the school district, but also the area to the west of that, much of which has been acquired by the Capital Region Medical Center. Again, for future redevelopment, probably parking lots first, but could be a medical office type use in the future. Up toward the top, there's a blue circle along Missouri Boulevard and some area along there identified for redevelopment. This is some of the oldest section of Missouri Boulevard, where there are still some residential houses kind of mixed within commercial businesses in that area. And we looked at that area very heavily because Missouri Boulevard property is at a premium. There is only so much space, and out of certainly corporate commercial developments, their target is often Missouri Boulevard because of the high traffic counts along it in the commercial corridor. And so we looked at that area and identified a line that we believe would support for more commercial lots on the northern side of Missouri Boulevard. It would get into the neighborhood just north of there a little. But then also on the southern side of Missouri Boulevard, some areas that includes a mix of different businesses and homes that we think would benefit from the general redevelopment. A couple of yellow circles on the screen is another category of land use of mixed use. We titled it Center Mixed Use, being it's really targeted toward the central areas of the community. This includes Capitol Avenue area and the East High Street area. Some of that has already been affected with overlay districts and mixed use zoning along Capitol Avenue, but also expanding that to the High Street area. If you're familiar with the Central East Side plan that was conducted associated with prison redevelopment. But then also a component of the South Side plan that I've mentioned a few times is a similar mixed use type of category along Duncan Street and Broadway Street. So trying to put that zoning in place and a few other tools to encourage more of a mix of different uses while still preserving kind of the historic nature of those areas. And then there's a large orange circle on top of downtown, which is colored brown. And so we wanted to separate out downtown. We don't think that they did that very good back in the mid-90s in the last iteration of the comprehensive plan. But at the same time, we want to recognize that downtown is unique and needs, probably we didn't want to focus too heavily on downtown within this comprehensive planning process. We basically recognize that it's something that will probably have to be looked at after this comprehensive planning process. But we took a stab at a few concepts. And so we laid out a downtown inset within the comprehensive plan, basically targeting a storefront commercial type development, which one would expect along High Street and Madison Street, recognizing some of the commercial areas surrounding the downtown area as more of a general commercial type of use, But also, we believe that there's more opportunity for either medium or high density residential use, more apartment buildings in the downtown area, certainly in the vicinity of Washington Street and East McCarty Street. There already are a number of apartment buildings. There's also some vacant land in that area. We think that there could be possibilities there. I'm very interested if others feel the same way. The next topic I'll touch on is capital culture and healthy living. Public art and improving the quality of life and recreation opportunities are all kind of components that people look for within where they live and deciding where they want to live. And so expanding on a lot of those things, developing more greenway trails for recreation opportunities, and expanding our public arts programs. There's a lot of different agencies within and organizations within the community that improve art and try to add some culture to our community. In supporting historic preservation activities, that has been a longstanding presentation or effort there to preserve history. And there's currently activities undertaken right now by city staff to redraft some of the sections of the city code and better position the tools to help preserve history within the community. But also some design opportunities, paying a little bit more attention to design at the site development level. The question here, how does all this happen? Well, again, it doesn't happen with just the planning department in the city. It is really targeted toward a wide variety of different functions within the city and across the community. We do include a tracking program. The plan is basically, its management is targeted toward the Planning and Zoning Commission of the city. And so at the staff level, our intent is to provide regular updates to the Planning and Zoning Commission on the various aspects of the plan and how it is progressing. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. It's again a very broad overview of a wide variety of topics.
Eric? Will any of this help make housing more affordable for homeless people?
And so the question is, will any of this make housing more affordable for homeless people? It is heavily represented within the comprehensive plan, the need for more affordable housing. The comprehensive plan, a lot of it is taking the land use approach of trying to target areas where housing can be constructed, but also identifying some of the weaknesses within the community in terms of, I don't know, probably get some of the terminology correct, but not just homeless shelters, but other transitional living uses. I believe it's one specific recommendation for the plan and trying to encourage and get more of those within the community. How that actually occurs is a more complicated topic, but I would say that yes, that is something that's represented.
I got that question.
Hey, Harold.
How about annexation?
Annexation. Okay.
Is that gonna come up?
So back in 1996, at the last iteration of the comprehensive plan, there was an annexation plan conducted at that time. We made the decision very early on within this planning process to not include that as a component of this process. The reason is it's a very complex topic. We didn't want to get distracted by that topic. We wanted to focus on the other components of the comprehensive plan. So Harold, basically it's a possible planning project within the future. And even back in 1996, there was a separate document that was produced to basically an appendix to the comprehensive plan. What is the annexation plan? So updating that plan is something that's on our mind.
Our population in Cole County, the last 10 years, if I got about 71,000, I believe. In the city, it's only about 42,000. That was what it was 10 years ago. Now, what's happening on our population increase? Are they all leaving town or what?
Well, I don't I don't think it's any secret that there is a lot of residential development that occurs outside the city limits. You know, there are sewer services and other services available out there that accommodates that development in rural, you know, Cole County. And there are a couple cities that have you know, agreements with Jefferson City on sewer services, including St. Martin's and Fort Summit, I believe. You know, there's a lot of residential developments on the north side of the river in Callaway County, but Fort Summit's in rural areas. And so that isn't lost. You know, it's, you know, I'll try to touch on that in two different ways, even though I'm not sure your question is very targeted. But, you know, I don't know that population growth is necessary for improvements in quality of life. And the target within the comprehensive plan is really improvement of quality of life. We want to make Jefferson City a better place to live. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to grow. Growth is definitely it's often a good thing. There are drawbacks to growth also. And certainly the comprehensive plan would accommodate some of that growth. It tries to target where future residential growth and commercial growth is likely to occur, so that we can plan for that in the future. But the overarching topic of the comprehensive plan is really targeted toward quality of life and improvement.
This common question is specifically tied to a long term. As the staff member here answering phone calls for people outside of Jefferson City coming to visit or things, the biggest question we have is there's no transportation for individuals of a taxi cab company or Uber. And their biggest question is, how do we get around if we come as a group or we don't have a vehicle? Are you all addressing that or trying to address that going forward?
That is a very complex topic. There are some specific recommendations on some of that in the comprehensive plan. Certainly, Jeff Tran is supporting that. Possibly expanding its surface are things that are mentioned within the comprehensive plan. And so I'll say yes, it is a topic that's addressed. It's a very complex thing, and certainly the taxi services and being able to support that is something that's almost more at the ground level, not at the flight level of the comprehensive plan. It's certainly something that the city's mindful of.
So Eric, just to follow up on that, there was a curiosity about what the recommendations or tactics were for transit or Uber that you say is in the plan. Did we go to the website and look at the detailed plan?
Yes, although it's not going to mention company names, obviously. But yes, the comprehensive plan is available on the city's website. There is a link on the main page for the comprehensive plan. So if you go to the city's main page and click on the comprehensive plan link, you're brought to a page for the comprehensive plan, which includes a link to the document. The plan, as I mentioned, is broken up into a number of different chapters. And then toward the back of the plan is a more technical list of the various recommendations, goals, and strategies that are contained within the plan that touch on increasingly more specific topics, such as the one that's just mentioned.
And to interject on that question too, we have more at the ground level. I know the city council has relaxed regulations that used to be in place. It used to be pretty strict on ride sharing or those kind of things. So we've made it easier for people to do business. It's just, do people want to provide that service? It's kind of more at a business level. Is there demand for it? Maybe some of the new hotels offering shuttle type services too, but you're right. And so it is kind of supply and demand for more business minded. But we've made it easy for people if they want to go into that business.
Eric, one of the things that obviously everyone's dealing with is supply chain issues and cost of labor and materials is a big issue. And obviously some of these things are very specific in terms of what you need to do in order to provide. Does the plan speak to the uncertainty and the difficulty, or is there any way of mitigating the situation within the blue water?
And so, it doesn't get down into that level. A lot of the, supply chain type things that you reference, honestly, are taking place after the bulk plan was drafted, even potentially after it is adopted. So I don't think it's something that's, gets down to that level. I don't necessarily think that that's a very good item to contain heavily within a document such as the comprehensive plan. Certainly something to be mindful of. Everything costs money, and today it costs more money. Topics such as the rental inspection program, which is potentially a very controversial type of topic within the community. If you're a landlord, that could be something that you'd be very mindful of. Is if there's increased requirements for being able to needing to bring something up to code. And then on the flip side, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you look at some of the older housing stock that I referenced and some of the conditions that many members of the communities live in, I believe that there's a very strong need to address some of those situations. Trying to find a balance between the two is the tough part. Again, the comprehensive plan is a list of recommendations and things that we believe the community needs to focus on. It doesn't necessarily get down into the details of how to accomplish that. That is for the decision makers, be it the city council or other decision-making bodies that are kind of responsible for different components of things like this in our community. So when it gets down to that level is where I think things like cost are best discussed. What it costs to comply, and if that is an appropriate and justifiable.
We have time for one more quick question.
Back to annexation, what protections does the city have?
You mean so like protection in terms of other communities incorporating? Well, I'm not sure if I understand the question entirely. Certainly, the city has a couple of annexation agreements with a couple of different communities. Up on the screen is a future land use map. As I mentioned, I think during the presentation, there's two communities that Jefferson City has agreements with for service. One of them is Holt Summit, the other is St. Martin's. And so up on the screen, you'll see two heavy black lines, one in the area of Holt Summit and one over by St. Martin's. And then within the legend there is the agreement boundaries. It's basically it's municipal boundary agreements, I think what that should say. So those are agreements that are in place between the city, Jefferson City, and those respective communities, basically calling out a future boundary that neither community will cross, in exchange for provision of those services. So that is in place. If you look down toward the Taos area, it's not shown very heavily, but in the lower right-hand corner of the visual there is a very jagged type of municipal boundary where the Taos annexed a large amount of essentially rural property that went all the way up to the boundaries of the city. And so if you're looking for what protections does the city have in place against stuff like that, well, the answer is that could not be prevented. Other communities can annex up that boundary if there is a lack of any kind of formal agreement between the community. There might be other legal remedies there that the city could possibly pursue. Probably not the attorneys for some of that discussion. But that's a couple examples of what is in place and what's not in place and the effects of that all.
Have annexation discussions anytime the council of the whole, we have an annexation committee, which is all 10 council members, and annexations come up a little bit here. And it's always a topic we're looking at. So we welcome input. The last annexation, we did was voluntary residential on the west end of town in the neighborhood that was more like a puzzle piece when it was initially annexed in years ago. So we made it more whole, and the neighbors wanted to be in, so we were able to do it since they were contiguous. As we know, the last annexation election failed. It was an area on the west end that was really needs to be in and needed to be in. You have to have the cost and benefit analysis, and as we provide services to those areas, it's a benefit to the city as we provide police and fire and other protections and all the other things that go along with it. But it is unfortunate that the area didn't, there was a couple hotels in there that really ought to be, or getting benefit of being part of our, they get some benefit from the city, yet they have not annexed, and there was a furniture store out there that vocally, they all were vocally against it. That would make sense to have them in. Nothing's really changed to change their mind. They still feel it's a benefit not to be part of the city they pay less tax, but they kind of get the benefit. I mean, they're close enough that Jeff City Fire Department, we're still responding out there. So it is that balance of how do you get some of those large businesses that are able to make an annexation fail. You feel like it is important enough for them to be part of the city. So there's a very interesting balance there. And it's not just there on the west side, it's an interesting conversation. What makes sense for those of us in Jefferson City. It's not just about a population number, and I know that you all know that, but it's definitely a conversation that's always being had. So we welcome your input. And if you all have thoughts, let us know as well, areas that we should look at. Because like I said, we have a standing committee for annexation and want to keep that conversation going.
I apologize, we're gonna have to end on that note. Eric, thank you very much for the presentation. Big Mayor, thank you for being with us today. Let's give them our appreciation. Great questions. As Eric said, when he led off, we could probably go on another hour with this. And I'm sure a lot of the issues that came up today will be issues that the chamber will continue to track. And as we do that, we'll make sure that you all are aware of our activity and the dialogue that's going on with City Hall as a result of that. We have a great working relationship with City Hall and appreciate them being very transparent about the planning process, sharing the information that we received today. I certainly found it very valuable, and I hope the rest of you did too. Is there anything left on the PowerPoint, or is that the last slide? That's it.
Member announcements.
Okay, very, very quickly. Anybody on Zoom have an announcement they'd like to make? Okay, how about in the room? Any brief announcements?
I'm Roger Grizzly, I'm the veteran rep at the Capital City Job Center. The Capital City Job Center is located at the Capital City Mall and Old Sears Wing. And employers can use our services to have hiring events, and also it's a neutral place to do interviews also.
And this month was just our third month doing what we call walk-in Wednesdays, which is just a new job fair that we have on site in our locations. Free of charge, we provide table, free company swag.
Other announcements? I want to thank First Choice Employment Agency again for being our sponsor this morning. If any of you are interested in being a Friday coffee sponsor, please reach out to Susan Albert or Susan Neal Dottie, and we'll take care of it. Congratulations to all the door prize winners, and thank you again for being with us. We're going to sign out. Have a good day.
I like the colors of their hats. Yeah, I do too.